Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch and inaugurate multiple development initiatives in Odisha, including projects in telecommunications, railways, higher education and healthcare. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calls for adherence to international law as he hosts BRICS foreign ministers in New York. Dr. Jaishankar to address the UN General Assembly today. UN sanctions on Iran loom after UN Security Council rejects last-ditch effort to delay re-imposition of sanctions over its nuclear program. And in sports, India edge out Sri Lanka in dramatic super over finish to maintain unbeaten run at the Asia Cup. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone and inaugurate multiple development projects in Odisha today. These projects span across telecommunications, railways, higher education, healthcare, skill development, rural housing sectors, among others. In a major boost to national communication infrastructure, Prime Minister Modi to commission over 97,500 mobile 4G towers built with indigenous technology. These towers will connect around 26,700 unconnected villages in remote border and left-wing extremism affected areas, serving over 20 lakh new subscribers. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation important rail projects that will boost connectivity and regional growth. PM will also lay the foundation stones for the expansion of 8 IITs, which will create capacity for around 10,000 new students over the next 4 years. Prime Minister Modi will also launch multiple initiatives of Odisha government to strengthen technical education and skill development. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will address the UN General Assembly today. Earlier, Dr. Jaishankar urged leaders for adherence to international law as he hosted BRICS foreign ministers in New York on Friday. After the meeting, Dr. Jaishankar, in a social media post, stated that when multilateralism is under stress, BRICS has stood firm as a strong voice of reason and constructive change. He said BRICS must amplify its collective call for a comprehensive reform of the principal organs of United Nations, especially UN Security Council. Dr. Jaishankar also stressed that BRICS must defend the multilateral trading system. Technology and innovation will define the next phase of BRICS cooperation, as India will be taking over the chair of BRICS in 2026. Dr. Jaishankar said India's chairship will focus on food and energy security, climate change, sustainable development through digital transformation, startups, innovation and strengthened development partnerships. Dr. Jaishankar also attended India, Brazil, South Africa ministers' meeting in New York on Friday. In a social media post, India's External Affairs Minister stated, and I quote, IBSA made a strong call for transformative reform of the UNSC. Discussions also on IBSA Academic Forum, Maritime Exercise, Trust Fund and intra-IBSA trade, unquote. The minister further said IBSA will continue to meet frequently in future as well. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar co-chaired the India-CELAC Foreign Ministers meeting alongside Foreign Minister Rosa Yolanda of Colombia. In a post on X, he said, delighted to co-chair the Foreign Ministers meeting along with FM Rosa Yolanda of Colombia in New York. We agreed to strengthen our existing broad-based cooperation in fields such as agriculture, trade, health, digital, HADR and capacity building. Also to explore emerging areas as AI technology, critical minerals, space and renewables. India and CELAC also concur on the urgent need to reform multilateral institutions to better represent the voice of the Global South. On the sidelines of the India-Sri Lanka foreign ministers meet, Jaishankar had a warm conversation with FM Rosa Yolanda of Colombia. On the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar also held bilateral meetings with several counterparts. In a post on X, Jaishankar said it was a pleasure to meet Foreign Minister Mario Lebetkin of Uruguay on the sidelines of India-Sri Lanka foreign ministers meet. Minister Jaishankar also met Foreign Minister Paul Shetkreen of Antigua and Barbuda. Dr. Jaishankar also had a good conversation with FM Sergei Lavrov of Russia on the sidelines of UNGA. Discussion was on bilateral ties, Ukraine conflict and developments in the Middle East. After more than 6 decades of service, one of India's most iconic fighter jet has flown into the sunset. Indian Air Force has officially retired the legendary MiG-21s, bringing an end to a remarkable era of Indian military aviation. The final squadrons were formally decommissioned in Chandigarh on Friday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in attendance and Air Chief Marshal AP Singh flying the last sortie. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo gets us more.
The Indian Air Force bid farewell to its iconic MiG-21 fighter jets after an extraordinary service span of 62 years. The final 2 squadrons, number 23 Panthers and number 3 Cobras, which together operated around 36 jets, were formally retired in Chandigarh during a decommissioning ceremony. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the event and Air Chief Marshal AP Singh flew the last MiG-21 sortie with the call sign Badal 3.
इतने लंबे समय तक MiG-21 अनेक वीरतापूर्ण कृत्यों का साक्षी रहा है। इसका योगदान किसी एक घटना तक या केवल एक युद्ध तक सीमित नहीं रहा है। 1971 के वार से लेकर कारगिल के युद्ध तक या फिर बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक से लेकर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर तक ऐसा कोई क्षण नहीं रहा जब MiG-21 ने हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस को जबरदस्त मजबूती न प्रदान की हो।
For 6 decades, the MiG-21 was the backbone of India's aerial defense, serving in key conflicts from 1971 to the Balakot operations. The Indian Air Force described it as not just a fighter but a symbol of resilience, reflecting the bond between the aircraft and the personnel who flew and maintained it. The farewell marks an emotional moment as the jet flies into the sunset, though it will not be sent to the scrapyard. Inducted in 1963, India ordered 874 MiG-21s across various variants. With Mark II speed and versatile capabilities to defend, strike and scout, it bridged the gap from propeller-era fighters to modern jets and trained generations of Indian pilots in supersonic combat.
Wherever MiG-21 was asked to perform any role, operational role, it has excelled and it is done better than what was expected out of it. Whether it was 65 war, whether it was 71 war, whether it was Balakot or even Op Sindoor.
From 1965 to Operation Sindoor, MiG-21 has been the backbone of Indian Air Force. After having served the country for 6 long decades, now is the time to say goodbye. But one thing is very much clear, that this flying machine has been a testimony of Indo-Russian defense cooperation. With cameraman Vishwa Bandhu in Chandigarh, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
From Naul Air Base in Chandigarh, the Indian Air Force salutes a legend for one last time. MiG-21, India's first supersonic fighter, wasn't just an aircraft. It was a symbol of a young nation's confidence, a fearless guardian that carried the Air Force into the jet age.
Inducted in 1963, India ordered a total of 874 MiG-21s of different variants, making the aircraft Indian Air Force's backbone for several decades. The MiG-21, with its Mach 2 speed and versatility, defend, strike and scout. It bridged the gap from propeller-era fighters to modern jets and trained generations of Indian pilots in supersonic combat.
As we listen to the experiences of those who lived and breathed this machine, we will try to capture not just the history of this aircraft, but the story of an era that shaped the Indian Air Force. I quote Air Marshal P.C. Lal, who said, "The MiG-21 gave the IAF wings it never had before." Unquote.
Thousands of our Air Force professionals have shared an important part of their lives with the MiG-21, and I am proud to be one among them. We respectfully remember those who taught us the aircraft to learn and to respect it. I recall the camaraderie and memorable time that we nurtured under its wings, that reminded us often that it is the team that matters.
The jet first saw action in 1965 war, but its true moment came in 1971. In the Battle of Boira, MiG-21s engaged Pakistani Sabres and a starfighter, scoring victories in the world's first supersonic dogfight. From striking enemy airfields in Dhaka to providing cover for troops, the MiG-21 proved decisive in securing the skies. Former Chief of the Indian Air Force, Air Chief Marshal P.V. Nayak recalls the role the MiGs played in protecting the nation.
MiG-21 has always been my first love. And in the MiG-21s, the Type 77 Ultimate, the Ferrari of MiG-21s. I was lucky. We were about 3 or 4 people who were selected from pilot officer days to fly the convert onto MiG-21s and fly them.
We fell in love with the aircraft as soon as we reported in Tezpur, the simplicity of the aircraft, and not only that, we were surprised. The checks and procedures were, simpler than the aircraft we had flown previously, easier to learn.
Decades later, in Kargil, upgraded MiG-21 Bison struck enemy positions at high altitudes. And even in 2019, during Balakot, they stood ready at the front line.
The MiG-21 taught us how to be innovative, to make do with what we have and produce results.
For more than 60 years, the MiG-21 flew countless missions, guarding borders, supporting troops, and inspiring generations. Today, the Flying Falcon bows out. Replaced by homegrown Tejas, its roar may fade, but its spirit of speed, skill, and sacrifice will forever echo across India's skies. Vishal Baristo, DD India, Chandigarh.
Moving on, today is the 6th day of Sharad Navratri. Devotees across the country are worshipping Ma Katyayani, known as Goddess of Courage and Victory. Temples and pandals across the nation are decorated. Cultural programs are being organized as part of the festivities. Kolkata, West Bengal depicted a pandal's theme, Hirak Rani, a fictional narrative to comment on contemporary socio-political issues and urge public reflection. Kolkata's Kendwa Shanti Sangh is celebrating its 53rd anniversary with the theme, A Mystical Endless Journey to the Goddess in an eco-friendly setting. Shiliguri is capturing the festive spirit with local pujo, choosing a natural theme to emphasize environmental consciousness. Guwahati's Durga Puja celebration beautifully decorated a pandal with unique theme based on a Buddhist temple from Bangkok. In Jharkhand, Ranchi, Chief Minister Hemant Soren inaugurated a Durga Puja pandal at Ratu Road in the capital. A unique Durga Puja in Takatpur themed around the traditional Mayurbhanj Adivasi culture. The event organized by Takatpur Durga Puja Committee is in its 27th year, aims to showcase a theme never seen before in Odisha. Artisans from West Bengal's Medinapur have been working for 2 months to create the setup despite challenges posed by rains. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Guinea Supreme Court confirms vote to change the constitution. World Para Athletics Championship kicks off in New Delhi on Saturday. Over 1,000 athletes compete in 186 medal events. And it's World Tourism Day today. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. United Nations sanctions on Iran are set to be reimposed on Saturday after a Russian and Chinese Security Council resolution to delay them failed. The Russian and Chinese push to delay the return of sanctions on Iran failed at the 15-member UN Security Council after only 4 countries supported their draft resolution. All UN sanctions on Iran are due to return after European powers known as the E3 triggered a 30-day process accusing Tehran of violating a 2015 deal meant to prevent it from developing a nuclear weapon. Iran denies seeking nuclear weapons. Diplomats had said the resolution to delay sanctions for 6 months had been unlikely to pass after last-ditch talks between Iran, Britain, France and Germany failed to break a deadlock. 9 countries voted no, while 2 abstained. The sanctions would restore an arms embargo, a ban on uranium enrichment and reprocessing, a ban on activities with ballistic missiles capable of delivering nuclear weapons, a global asset freeze and travel bans on Iranian individuals and entities, and would also hit its energy sector. On the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian criticized Washington for lacking sincerity in nuclear talks, including negotiations held before Israel's attack. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirmed that a deal had been reached with the agency, but he dismissed the sanctions process as legally void, vowing Tehran would never bow to pressure while still leaving space for dialogue.
Today's situation is the direct consequence of the United States withdrawal from the JCPOA and the E3 EU failure to take any effective action to uphold their commitments. The United States has betrayed diplomacy, but it is the E3 which have buried it. The E3 and the United States bear full responsibility for the serious consequences of today's decision. By ignoring facts, spreading false claims, misrepresenting Iran's peaceful program, and blocking diplomacy, they have actively and intently paved the way for dangerous escalation.
And news just coming in, exercising the right of reply of India on Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's speech, Indian diplomat Petal Gehlot said UNGA witnessed absurd theatrics from Prime Minister of Pakistan, who once again glorified terrorism that is so central to their foreign policy. The Indian diplomat said this is the very same Pakistan which at the UN Security Council on 25th of April 2025 shielded Resistance Front, a Pakistani-sponsored terror outfit, from responsibility of carrying out the barbaric massacre of tourists in the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. She further said a country long steeped in the tradition of deploying and exporting terrorism has no shame in advancing the most ludicrous narratives to that end. Let us recall, she says, that it sheltered Osama bin Laden for a decade, even while pretending to partner in the war against terrorism. Its ministers have just recently acknowledged that they have been operating terror scams for decades. It should come as no surprise that once again this duplicity continues, this time at the level of its Prime Minister. In other news, President Donald Trump of the US thanked the FBI's Kash Patel on Friday for his role in securing indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. Comey, who was indicted on Thursday on charges of false statements and obstruction of congressional proceedings, who led the FBI's 2016 investigation into potential ties between Trump's campaign and Russian officials, has denied all charges. Legal analysts say the indictment could reignite debates over the FBI's handling of politically sensitive investigations and further polarize public opinion around both Trump and Comey. Comey has professed his innocence and has vowed to fight the case in the court. U.S. immigration officials on Friday arrested the superintendent of the public school system in Des Moines, Iowa, acting on what authorities say was a prior deportation order. The superintendent, Ian Roberts, came from Guyana to the U.S. on a student visa in 1999 and was ordered deported in 2024. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security said Roberts had a 2020 weapons charge but did not provide details. President Trump's administration has advanced a wide-ranging immigration crackdown, seeking to drive up arrest of immigration offenders and strip work permits from hundreds and thousands with legal status. Schools have been a flashpoint over enforcement after Republican president's administration rolled back guidance from his Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, that limited the ICE actions near educational facilities. While ICE generally has not targeted schools, they have arrested parents nearby, according to U.S. Census data. The U.S. Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration on Friday to freeze now more than $4 billion in foreign assistance appropriated by the Congress. The conservative-dominated court said upholding the president's authority to conduct foreign affairs appears to outweigh the potential harm faced by the intended recipients for the aid money. The court said its emergency order was not a final determination on the merits of the case, but it allows for a temporary freeze on disbursement of the funds while the case continues in lower courts. President Trump, since taking office in January this year, has sought to exert greater control over federal spending. Liberal justices said that the effect of the decision is to allow executive to cease obligating $4 billion in funds that Congress appropriated for foreign aid, and that will now never reach its intended recipients. Guinea's Supreme Court on Friday confirmed the result of a referendum to approve a new constitution in the junta-ruled country. The final tallies, over 89% in favour and just over 10% against, confirmed the provisional vote results announced on Tuesday evening. Opposition parties had called on voters to boycott the last Sunday's referendum, accusing General Mamadi Doumbouya of using it to stay in power. Earlier on Friday, they had filed a request to the court to annul the result. The request was rejected. The court's confirmation paves the way for elections to be held in December. The sign suggests that Doumbouya will run for the presidency despite an earlier promise that he would not. In sports, defending champions India survived Pathum Nissanka's blistering 100 and some intense super over drama before beating Sri Lanka in a dead rubber to maintain their unbeaten run at the Asia Cup on Friday. Sri Lanka gave a good account of themselves and matched India's 202 runs for the loss of 5 wickets to force super over after Nissanka smashed the first individual 100 of this year's tournament. However, Sri Lanka managed only 2 runs in the super over before losing both the wickets in 5 deliveries from Arshdeep Singh. India's skipper Surya Kumar Yadav took 3 runs from the first delivery to seal their victory. India have already secured their place in the Sunday's final against Pakistan. World champion and world record holder Wen Xiaoyan of China will defend her title in the first medal event at the World Para-Athletics Championship that kicks off in New Delhi on Saturday. Wen Xiaoyan set the world record in the women's long jump T37 event at the 2023 Hangzhou Asian Para Games. In men's 5,000 meter T11 event, the top 3 of the last Paralympic Games and World Championships, Brazil's Julio Cesar, Agrippino, Yeltsin Jacques and Kenya Karasawa of Japan will compete. 2-time Paralympic javelin throw champion Sumit Antil and sprinter Preeti Pal will be among the big names to lead India's 73-member contingent. Over 1,000 athletes are going to compete in 186 medal events. It's World Tourism Day today that is being celebrated under the theme Tourism and Sustainable Transformation. Tourism is a powerful driver of transformation. The day also highlights tourism's vital role in fostering understanding between cultures and promoting global harmony. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya gets us more.
Tourism is more than just travel. It is a force for economic growth, a bridge between cultures, and a catalyst for social progress. Beyond boosting economies, tourism creates jobs, empowers communities, and opens doors to education and new opportunities. To truly harness its potential, tourism must be deliberate, inclusive, and rooted in sustainability, resilience, and social equity. This year, World Tourism Day 2025, celebrated under the theme Tourism and Sustainable Transformation, shines a spotlight on this vision. It reminds us that sustainable tourism is not just about destinations, it's about people, peace, and progress. The evidence is clear. Countries with open and sustainable tourism sectors tend to be more peaceful. And in 2024 alone, tourism contributed 10% of global GDP, supporting 1 in every 10 jobs worldwide. Tourism has the path to transform. With sustainability at its heart, it can be the path to a more equitable, resilient and united world.
Tourism is more than travel. It's a path to understanding, connection and lasting peace. Celebrate World Tourism Day and join the movement towards a more peaceful and sustainable future. With Person Vinod, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
That's all in this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.